recommendations from our local and informed medical providers. And by medical providers, I'm talking specifically about the trained experts at Data Care who were on the front lines this year in this community, helping to save people's lives. We look to the education experts to advise us in best practices for educating our students. And I'm disappointed with those of you who ignored the recommendations of our local medical experts regarding best practices for continuing to keep kids and staff safe. Cat Fair, I was disgusted with the May 20th meeting and felt truly represented by your comments May 21st. You were brave enough and bold enough to call a spade a spade. And I appreciate your irrefutable and heartfelt feedback that you shared with the board. You had powerful words, certainly maybe one that you regret, and thank you for your apology for that and owning it. While I appreciate you caring about the feedback from parents and staff, we aren't the experts in best practices during the pandemic. And sure, our voices as parents and staff matter, but not when it's our opinions that go against true medical advice. And granted, we are seeing fewer cases thanks to all the caring people around here who have been getting their vaccines. You're welcome. But what's done is done. I urge you, however, to heed the future advice from our local medical providers regarding decisions for this fall. And please don't call meetings because of rumors or possibilities that medical people might consider saying this or that. A meeting should not have been called until that information was absolutely verified by your medical team of advisors who have been advising you all year long. I truly hope there aren't any terrible health outcomes with any of our students or staff, because we'll know who the folks are in this community who will end up wearing some of that blame. Thank you.
Thank you. Again, I would ask people to please try to keep their comments to 30 minutes.
Yes, my name is Sandy Roberts. I live in Waupaca, and for many years I served on the board, many with most of you and many with Pat Fair. And I just want to say thank you for all of the help and service that you've given to this community during this pandemic. And Pat, I want to also thank you for all that you've done for our community over the course of decades, whether serving on the Common Council, serving on the school board. I don't think we'd have Swan Park without your input. You taught CAT courses here at the high school. You were instrumental in founding a community garden that supports, that provides tons of food, has provided tons of food over the course of the past 12 years. And you're a playwright. A play that you wrote that honored veterans was performed by our community theater group and attended by many people. And I would hope that our community would have the foresight to accept that this public forum has provided enough of a consequence for allowing your passion to include an expression that, as you described, might have been a little bit more than we might have wished at this point. But you have contributed so much to this community. We owe you so much. And that to have this be the end of your school board career for this one moment of time would be a terrible, terrible thing, I think. So thank you all, and thank you, Pat.
Thank you. You may address something.
Thank you.
I was listening and watching.
Thank you.
Okay.
My name is Laurie Bulmer, and yes, I'm a resident of Waupaca. My husband and I retired and moved here 2 years ago, and I have to say it's the best decision we've ever made. It's a wonderful community. As a grandmother, a mother, and a former educator, I know how difficult your position is, especially this past year, and I just want to say thank you, and I appreciate it. I've been speaking with many people as I try to get to know more people in the community. And I just spoke with a young mom this morning who has a small child, and she was saying, you know, I just kind of asked people their feelings about it, and she said, although she was very nervous at the beginning of the year, Her daughter quickly adjusted, didn't mind wearing a mask, didn't mind washing her hands several times. She really appreciated the air filtration system that you put in, and she was saying how wonderful the school year turned out to be for her young daughter that she was so worried for. And it made me think how children can't learn if they don't feel safe. So I appreciate the fact that you put safety before other issues. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
My
name is Preston. I do not live in Waupaca. I was told to put out for people to come attend this board meeting because of things that have happened. The first being, there's a rumor that the decision might be reversed and masks might be reinstated, and I really hope that's just the rumor. You guys were informed that it was up to 109 districts before voting on this. It's now 139 districts. So it is snowballing across the state, and I would really hope that you guys keep this in place, not only for summer school, but for the whole school year. Another thing, learning about Pat's behavior, I've never met him, but looking at the comments that were made, it doesn't seem like this behavior is that out of sorts. It sounds like when he was on the council, there was some immature behavior also. So I hope that in some fashion that a stop is put to that if this is the case. And as far as not listening to the parents, you guys work for these parents. Those are their kids that your schools are taking care of. So yes, absolutely, every parent should have a say. And when the majority of 69% say that they don't believe that masks have been mandatory, yes, at that point, this should be listened to. The data shows that they don't work. We've had plenty of private schools, including one in Stevens Point, all of those in the school district, and lots of other ones that did the mask optional all year. It didn't lead to any huge outbreak. There were other states where statewide it was completely mask or optional all year. There's no difference in the data. So at this point, I believe that that should stand.
Thank you.
My name is Mary Kay Burke. I do have two students left in this district. This has nothing to do with masks, but I want something brought up in the near future. And it has to do with the bullying that goes on in the school. My son is now in 8th grade recognition. Had to watch a child that dumped a bottle of spit over his head while crossing get recognized for that last night. It hurt him mentally. He did not want to go to school. I had to pull him out virtually. I don't allow it in my job, this bullying that goes on in this district. I expect this district to tighten down on the bullying. We've had family members pulled from this district and put in other districts because of the bullying is out of control in this district. And I would like to see that addressed in the near future.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Lynn Meyer. I am a resident of Waupaca County. I have a young son at home, another on the way, and 4 nieces and nephews who all are not or will be part of the Waupaca School District. And I want to say, first of all, curse words don't scare me. My dad's an old farmer, decorated military veteran, and if that sounds like some kind of bleeding heart to you, you never watched the guy shoot his dog and beat the crap out of a tractor tire. So I'm not afraid of that. But what does scare me is that there are members of this school board whose sound judgment in stating a mask mandate, following what the science tells us is correct, have judgment that is so easily overturned by political pressure, as was openly acknowledged here earlier. That scares me. I really encourage you all to remember this isn't about you. This is about all of your constituents. This is about everybody, young, old. My angry old father, he's also immunocompromised, but he also wants to see his grandkids.
And I hate to think you can't do that just because we can't have people wearing masks for the summer zone. Thank you.
Thank you. Question?
Hi, my name is Dimitri Martin. I used to serve on this board not too long ago, and I appreciate the work that all of you are doing for the kids and for our community. As you can see, I'm not masked myself today. I'm double vaccinated, and I feel invincible right now, as many of you in this room might feel. So I can understand maybe why some people have some questions, that there is a legitimate debate about what should be done in the summer as far as masks go. But at the same time, you know, we have to look at the science, and personally what I'm seeing on the CDC's website is that for the 2020 to 2021 academic year, they're recommending that all students wear masks and part of all of that. I understand summer school is part of the 2021 school year. And so if you look at that, to me that says that the CDC is not presently providing guidance. And so it falls on your shoulders to decide what you want to do and what's best for our children. And it's a hard decision. That being said, I have a daughter who's 10 years old, and she was in track meet recently, right at the high school out in the new football field. And who did I see out on that football field helping direct the kids, leading the activities on the field, is Mr. Pat Fair. I've never known someone who's contributed more to this community than Pat. Between the school board, between city council, between other sorts of activities outside of municipal leadership. Pat is being judged by people who have done very little in this community, and that's just not fair. We owe you a debt of gratitude, Mr. Fair, and I understand people get passionate, and I don't think it's fair to take decades of someone's service and throw it out the window because of a swear word. Let's have our debates, let's treat each other with respect, and let's focus on really what matters. Doing what's best for the kids.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Todd Belch, and I am a resident of Waupaca, of this district. First of all, I'd like to thank and commend you guys for what you've done on the board. This has been a difficult year, and I can't imagine what it would be like to represent and try and make the tough decisions that you've been asked to do. I think our track record in this community has shown, because it has such a good response because of what you've done. Our community is doing as well as we are. I believe that they were saying that we are one of the top in the state because of decisions that you guys have made. All those decisions that you were making throughout the whole time were based on nursing, physicians, and making those decisions. Of course, you got to take into public opinion, but your decisions were always based on that. And I think that that's the reason that we've gotten where we are. And if we continue to follow through with it, I feel we're at like the 1 yard line to finish off what we're doing instead of going back, completely back. I think what you're doing is wonderful. Some of you just said before, you know, that the representation from our board here, you don't have students involved in the school, and how do you know? If it isn't evident enough, the passion that you guys have, and I'm sorry that a word was spoken here, and it was inappropriate, and I'm glad you owned up to it, Mr. Fair. So I'm glad that you were able to do that, but I understand that, and I can see how passionate you all are, and how much this is really concerning for you. And I'd like to commend you for what you're doing and continue to follow through with what you started in the beginning. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Gracie Lego. I am a resident of the district, and I'd like to speak on behalf of the proposal for a junior varsity track and field.
Could you just get a little closer to the microphone, please? I'm sorry.
I placed very well on the high school track and field team. I landed in the first team for women's North Division, And I feel that I would have done very well, if not better, and I would have appreciated it if we had a junior varsity middle school track and field club. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm Lily Legal, and I'm also a resident of the district. I'm also speaking on behalf of the track and field club. Being an 8th grader, I think, and participating in the track and field club, I think it would have been very beneficial had there been a middle school track club. Mr. Reliff is very helpful and has helped me not only in track and field, but also as a person. So I think having that ability would be very helpful. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay.
I'm Miller, I'm a resident. There was something earlier. Pat, as you heard Lady speak earlier about the bullying, that's really what I see with your whole meeting, is bullying, trying to pressure people. You know, and the other person spoke and said, you know, how much you've done for the community. You've made very good salary the time you've done all this supposed charity work, as you want to say, I don't know, but you get paid for this too. So this ain't not goodness his heart. He's collecting a paycheck. Bullying is what you were doing, just so we're all clear.
Okay.
Hi, my name is Jane Legault. I am a resident of the district. And I called our district administrator earlier this week, who never returned my call, and called Dale Belts, and he never returned my call. And I want to thank Mr. Johnson for returning my call and giving me that information that he had regarding that. I don't believe this meeting is about masks. I believe this meeting is about vulgarity and the fact that you're having a little trouble keeping it together with your emotions. I understand, I get it about that, but if you can't keep it in track, then you have no business being on this board. You have no business presenting yourself as a member of this board and a member of students who should look up to you. As the other woman mentioned, I as a teacher was always put out when a student might have used that kind of vulgarity, and they were always recommended. And so what kind of message are we sending to our youth if we're saying that a board member can just use the F-bomb anytime they want to, and they get no punishment at all for this kind of behavior? I think it's outrageous. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes,
Oh, my name is Luke Mudson. I live in Waupaca. I was born and raised in Waupaca. I went to this school 25 years ago. Some of you I know. I am very anti-mask, but reading the agenda, that is not why we're here tonight. We're here to discuss behavior. We teach our children that there are consequences for your actions. What those consequences are vary. However, how do we sit there and look our children in the eye and tell them, you can't do that or you will be punished, when the school board themselves are not doing it? If my kid gets caught swearing in school, I'm sure there is some consequence he will receive. There needs to be some kind of consequence. We can go home and look our kids in the eye and say, this is wrong, and this is what will happen if you break the rules. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Keith Kudrowski. I'm not a resident of Stevens Point, where we had issues getting the masks out to kids also. And first of all, address the behavior. I understand passion, but when I step over that boundary, there's a price I gotta pay. Don't know what someone determines that price is, but there should be a price. So at that, the mask, I do have an immune deficiency issue, not COPD, and I ain't wearing a mask. Ain't gonna happen. They don't work, they're bacterial. That's why the doctor wears it, bacteria. The science has changed from the beginning. Wear a mask. Don't wear a mask. Wear 2 masks, wear 3. Serious. Read the emails, they're coming out, and people don't think you were led. And to shame these kids, I feel bad for those with immune deficiency. That's an issue that's got to be taken on personally. You got to find a mask that protects you. Shaming the kids, it's shaming. That is absolutely, it's slavery of the kid. That is absolutely the first thing any culture does to shame people, to show you're inferior. It's what our government's done, what Dr. Parsi's done. It's serious. Get the mask off. Kids are resilient. You build an immune system. That's what you just rely on. So thank you for your time.
Thank you. Yes, ma'am.
My name is Vicki Simons. I live in the city of Waupaca. I have 2 children in the school district. The last meeting with Mr. Fair's words that he said were brought to my attention. So we sat down, me and my husband, and we listened to the YouTube video of that board meeting. My technical captain walked in just as she dropped in about Mr. Fair. And she looked at me and she said, "Mom, who was that?" And I had to explain it to her. And she said, "Mom, if you talk like that in school, we get reprimanded. Mr. Fair, you need to lead by example. If the kids get consequences, so should you." And as far as the mask, I'm anti-mask. I put them on my children to go to school. My kids are now asking me, "Mom, if we have to wear them next year, can we go homeschool?" As the last gentleman said, the emails are coming out. Mr. Fauci has admitted that they don't work. This is never about safety, it was about compliance. Children deserve to live a normal life. Both my daughters are immune compromised also, as are me and my husband. It's been a year, enough's enough. Thank you. My name is Jordan Pelton, and I just have a small statement that the mask mandate should be the parents' choice, not a school board, no one. If the parents choose to want their children to wear a mask, then that should be their parents' choice. Thank you.
Joel Bartel. I'm here to address what happened on the May 21st board meeting. And we're going to start off by saying there's 2 board members on this board that owe our superintendent an apology. You guys bullied him at that meeting, yelling at him for sending out a survey to the parents to get information for you guys to make an informed decision. You owe him an apology. It doesn't have to be public, I don't care, but it should be private. Mr. Fair, Mr. Cole. He can't hear this.
If you could break the temperature on this photo, please.
So, I would hope you guys would do that. Second of all, Mr. Fair, the precedent you set for this school district is unbelievable. Now it's okay for our kids, if you disagree with someone, to look them in the eye and say, "Go blank yourself." That's what you said. You set a precedent for this school district. So, you've done a lot of good things for this district, Mr. Fair. And I want to thank you for that, okay? But save your legacy, and I would ask you to turn in your resignation and do the right thing. Because you can save your legacy. You've done a lot. You're a good person. You're a good person. But you have to realize what you did and the precedents you set for the school district. So, with that, thank you.
Thank you.
Pat, you said something that was inappropriate. You owned it, you apologized. It was wrong. That piece, all of us can maybe agree on. That, thank you for that, okay? But a precedent has been set, and that was set in the previous administration of the United States of America, okay? There were worse things that were said the entire time that were never apologized for. So what you said, you made a mistake, you own it. Moving on, everybody.
I think you were speaking of moving on, we'll get to the consent agenda then. I'm sorry, one more.
Hi, I'm Nicolai. I have three sons in the school district. I'm sorry to come late after Mr. Politsky left because I kind of want to address this to him. During the last May 21st meeting, he had made the comment that, I'm sorry, I don't know the exact words. I tried to go back on YouTube so I could quote, and the May 21st meeting is no longer there. So I could not find the exact quote, and he was not quoted in the meetings that were written down. It was the fact that, what are we going to do every time parents are overly vocal? Are we just going to turn around and listen to them? Yeah, I hope so. I hear from my sons and their friends all the time that we don't get listened to. And I'm speaking as a student right now. We don't get choices. We are not to be part of decisions. We are treated like toddlers. Our input is not valued. I as a parent feel like that as well. He actually said it last time. He did it very point blank. I'll give an example of all of this. The students not being heard and the parents not being heard. Problems this weekend at school. Came out today that, just like that, parents can't come in the building. I hope that decision is reversed between now and Saturday. I called Mr. Robowski today and had a nice conversation with them. I didn't really understand why parents were not allowed to be there, but that is just one example out of, I could go hundreds, of where the parents and the students, their input is not valued by our school district. And that needs to change within there so that the environment is a more positive for both the parents and the students that go here.
Thank you.
Hi, I get really nervous when I talk, so I'm last. My name is Kayla. I'm a resident of Waupaca. My son Finn just finished kindergarten this fall. I just want to thank you guys, since I'm keeping my distance. I'm Minnesota and I'm vaccinated, but I really want to thank you for all the hard work that you've done in this whole school year, from a mom standpoint and from a nurse standpoint. You know, there's just so much new stuff happening, and with the pandemic, it can be really scary, and there can be so many different sides of it. Everybody can look up their own information and find things, and it's got to be really hard. But I really thank you for making the right decisions as far as masking and hand washing and giving us updates every week. That was so nice to get those updates, to know again, you know, what the numbers were. And I was so happy that Finn could go to school and not do virtual. And he didn't mind wearing the mask. It never bothered him. When he got off the bus, he would run and play with the mask on. And so I think you guys, you know, in my heart as a mom, following the best available science, CDC, as a nurse following the best available science, following CDC, I just want to thank you guys for doing the right thing. And I know I didn't listen to that last meeting, and it was pretty heated, I guess. And that's why I'm here today, is just because I'm part of this community. I'm going to live here for the rest of my life, and I want to be part of the voice, talking, you know, getting information, giving information, and my thoughts and opinions on things. So thank you, and I do want to say, I think the best kind of school board members are people that have spent their whole lives dedicated to the school and to watching out and doing what's best for our kids, and that's what you guys have been doing throughout your careers. And Steve, I know you're also a wonderful member of this community, and you've got a lot of experience in this community, and you have great input too. So thank you guys, everyone.
Thank you. The last week.
My name's Jenny Ryan. I'm a resident of Waupaca. I have 3 children in the school district right now. I have 2 that are juniors and that are going to prom this weekend. We had a Facebook post from the school district Waupaca on May 15th saying parents are welcome to the Grand March. Nothing really was said. We were excited. We could at least come in and see our students dressed up and just excited to celebrate the end of the year. Last night on the rumor mill, I hear, well, you can watch outside. And I'm really not sure why this is happening. I was just in here last night for 8th grade graduation, and there were parents there with students. I'm just wondering how the decision got made. Why would you put something out that parents are welcome to the Grand March, but yet telling them they can't come inside the school? So I would just like to see my kids walk the Grand March. I don't need to stay for the dance, but I think you owe that to a lot of the students and the parents. We've seen our kids go through a lot this past year, so asking for one simple thing, can we please just come in and see our kids and let them know that we love them and we respect them. Thank you.
Thank you. Move on, next on the agenda is the board norms. I will start with be prepared to stay informed, listen to others, and be open to different opinions and perspectives. Be inquisitive, reflective, and respectful, checking our biases and agendas at the door. We will thoughtfully and objectively discuss the facts of the situation and not personalize issues or policies. Mr. Fair?
Ensure open and clear communications, maintain transparency, no surprise.
Mrs. Lanning?
Remain objective, forward-thinking, open-minded, respect the opinions of others.
Mr. Hackett?
Maintaining professional relationships is key. Know and respect the roles and responsibilities of the board, governing, administration, tactical, and staff operations.
Mr. Kozma?
Are on time, and on time, stay on task.
Mr. Bull?
When a board decision is made, we accept and abide by the decision both publicly and privately. We accomplish more united than divided.
And finally, I learn to protect the expectation confidentiality of all topics addressed and discussions held in closed sessions. With that, we'll move on to the consent agenda. Is there a motion? Motion by Mr. Hackett. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Felt. Any discussion? There being none, roll call.
Aye.
Yes.
Aye.
Aye.
Yes.
Yes. Sorry. Communications. I was.
I just point out to our two students that did come up and speak about the track team. That was included in the consent agenda, ladies, so that is approved. I just want you to be aware of that, okay? Communications. So we have a level 3 Pace Setter Award that we're very excited to share with you. This Pace Setter Award is through the hard work of our counselors and our AP teachers. And so we just wanted to share that with our community, share it with our boards so that they're aware that we have done well with this advanced placement coursework and follow assessments that's been taking place. And then that goes to my administrative report. So update regarding our vaccinations, as you're aware, over 81% of our staff are vaccinated. We've been talking about the fact that we have reached herd immunity. After this afternoon, it looks like over 40% of our county has been vaccinated with at least one of the vaccinations, with 80, actually just before the meeting I looked, it was 80.6% of our people who are most vulnerable, age 65 and older. The health of the district, this is just a continuation of a report every month I've been sharing with the board. So, as you're aware, since December, we have continued to see the COVID data trend in the right direction. As of Monday, June 7th, the 14-day average dropped to 1.28, the lowest 14-day average that we have had since mid-May of last year, 2019. Most of our current data points are at where we were last year in May of 2019. 16 is the total positive over the last 14 days. The highest, if you remember, back in November was 722, just as a comparison. Since May 17th, those is a 21-day span. Our 14-day average has been in the ones every day except 2 days. On May 29th and 29th, it was in the twos. May 31st, June 1st, and 2nd was the first time that we had 3 consecutive days with 0 new positives. The first time since this whole pandemic happened. We currently have 0 positives in our school district of Waupaca cohort. The highest that we ever had was 11, and that was on November 24th, and that's out of 2,445 people approximately. We currently have 0 positives in our cohort. Since May 14th, we have had 0 classroom teachers listed on our COVID staff report. That COVID staff report isn't just positives, it's anybody that was a close contact. So we're very happy to see that the case levels and the context and everything continues to go down and down. Since May 14th, we have had no more than 2 total staff listed on our COVID staff report. On Friday of last week, the 4th, we had the least amount of people from our cohort out for a COVID-related reason, 12 out of the 2,445 or 50 people. The highest number that we had was 286 back in October. At that time, we also had 30 staff on that day out for a COVID-related reason. The next table is just showing the number of staff on that COVID staff report. That's not the positives. Those are everybody that are impacted with close contacts or positives. And you can see how since October that it has dwindled. Since January 4th, we have had 7 staff members test positive. The last positive occurred on May 3rd. We have had over this course of this school year, 38 total people. 11.4% of our total staff ended up being positive. And I was really appreciative to hear some of the comments about the ionizers, because that financial fiscal investment that we made last summer, I truly believe has had a very positive impact on our students' health and our staff's health. And it's hard to put a number on how valuable that is. And that's why in my weekly updates, I've been including that in there every week, because I truly believe that has made a big impact in helping us stay open. Okay, hanging here with me, my son. I can hear you yawning out there. Okay, next in my report, we're very pleased to be able to share with everybody that our middle school and the WLC have been recognized again by the DPI in the Wisconsin RTI Center for Achieving Gold Level in Reading, Math, and Behavior. Behavior is what we call PBIS. Schools can earn platinum, gold, silver, or bronze levels for reading, math, and PBIS. Both of these schools have successfully built school-wide, equitable, multi-level systems of support aimed at closing achievement gaps. By doing this work, both the middle school and the WLC are increasing the consistency of effective instruction for all of our students, building staff knowledge and skills to support all learners, using data to more quickly identify and provide support for students, and shifting to a proactive culture that supports stronger relationships with students, their families, and our communities. This was the first time our middle school received the gold status in all 3 categories. They've previously received gold status in both reading and math, and silver in PBIS, but now have received the gold in PBIS. So that is a great accomplishment. We're very excited. And the WLC has received the gold status in all 3 areas for the past 3 years, not including last year, because last year they held it off. But I know that they are working hard, they're proud of that, and working hard to get to the platinum level next year. That's what I've been told. So this recognition program across the state encourages schools during construction of their systems and helps them celebrate the progress toward full implementation. It also helps them continue their work and encourage them to continue their work as they map out how to sustain these systems and continue to build increasing levels of student support in additional subject areas besides just the reading and the math. High school graduation, we had in my opinion, a great high school graduation ceremony that took place on Sunday. The power went out, and I was told the power went out for a short time because the bird flew into some substation someplace, but it kicked back on fairly quickly. Unfortunately, for some reason, the recording wasn't able to record, and I believe it had something to do with that power outage, but I'm not certain at this time. But we received a lot of positive feedback, and so we were happy about that. End of the year celebration, that is tomorrow. And it is my understanding everybody, or at least most of our board is planning to be here. So we have that posted. Administration is serving breakfast to our staff, and there will be a little program. We'll have some retirement speeches and anniversaries acknowledged as well. I want to remind everybody, we still have a few people who have not yet completed the WSP board self-evaluation survey that School Perceptions has sent out for us. Please complete that. I'd like that to be incorporated into one of our future retreats that we have, and I need them to have both WSP, our School Board Association, and School Perceptions to be able to analyze that data so that they can provide that feedback to us in the form of a report that we can discuss. And as was discussed at the May 11th meeting last month, we're looking at a retreat on June 11th or maybe sometime in July where we can talk about governance training and board linkage meetings that we talked about earlier this year as well with our stakeholder groups. And a grant writer update. As you're aware, our grant writer is doing a fabulous job. I'm not going to go through the entire report. It's linked. Anybody that's interested can go and access and read that. To date so far, we have received $48,000 in mental health programming from our grant writer. We're looking at a grant of $7,500. As we market our district and we market our community, we market our businesses, there will be a landing page for our marketing program. And just so everybody's aware, year to date, we call him Greg the Grant Writer, some of you may have met him, has written almost $1.5 million of successful grants, and that's 10 grants that he's been awarded so far. And right now he has almost $1,848,000 in the hopper that's pending and we're waiting on. Does anybody have any questions? Yes.
Just one brief comment. The power that went out during the commencement ceremony did so when the principal was speaking, which brought great applause from the students.
But that was because of the power of his Monday motivational message.
Jenny, about seeing the children at the dance. Does the school district run that, or does someone else run it?
Could you say that again, Mr. Hackett?
Jenny asked a question about seeing her children at the dance for the prom. Is the school district running that, or someone else?
I believe she's referencing this is an unusual year. There are actually two kinds of proms, okay? There's our, and that starts at 7 to 9. And I think she was talking about the Grand March. And my understanding is that is taking place outside. They're going to run the students outside so that the parents are able to see that. And then there's a second one. There's an evening version of it, Mr. Hackett, that the parents have organized themselves out at the casino. Does that answer your question? Okay, thank you.
I'm just here with my son graduating on Sunday, 500 plus people in the gym. Monday night, 8th grade graduation, 500 people in the gym. Why can I not be here for prom on Saturday?
Okay, we will defer to administration to speak about that in the very near future.
I just have a safety concern too, because I heard they're walking outside and walking back in. I don't know where you're gonna fit all those parents on that outside of the gym. That's right where the driveways come in. I don't know if we're gonna be lawn chairs or where, it's just gonna be way too many people, so we have to put in that little piece of grass right there, so.
Again, since that's not on the agenda, the board really can't take it up. I will defer to administration to resolve this. Okay. Budget update.
So we have our business director, Mr. Hackett, online, and or Mr. Hackett, Mr. Hyatt. I'm sorry, Steve. Mr. Carl Hyatt is online, our business director, and he was going to give a verbal update on our 21-22 budget. Carl, are you online here?
I am. Can everyone hear me?
Yes, we hear you very well. Thank you.
Okay, very good. I really just want to give everybody I've been setting the board videos with regard to the state of the state budget. And the state budget really, what it comes down to it, there's a proposed state budget out there. And consequently, public schools aren't quite happy with it for really 3 reasons. The first reason is the budget proposed holds $350 million basically in an escrow account for future usage in maybe the next annual year. So consequently, the fear is that the money won't be there when they say it will be, because it will be misappropriated for things like transportation or things as that such. They're also concerned that there is no revenue cap increase within this budget to keep up with that CPI, that wage increase, kind of the harmonization of that budget. But what they're saying is in this proposed budget is basically school districts use those ESSER funds to balance your budget. But when you think about that, the caveat to using the ESSER funds is you can't use those for salaries, infringe. And so consequently, you would have to parlay that into your maintenance and other areas, and it's one-time money. So that's the state of the budgets. It's in flux. And so consequently, with the usage of those ESSER funds, it would really be irresponsible fiscally in my fiscal finance advising role to pay bonuses for teachers in my estimation ever, because I don't believe there's any study of any organizational development that states that it brings unity. I think it really states it brings division. But nevertheless, regardless of that, this state budget will not be anywhere near prepared or ready in August. I believe this will go right to the end. We'll go to October. So October we'll know more information. And at that point, we'll have information of, what things we need to do for our district. But I want to give a note that my budget snapshot that I presented to you May 21st, that holds. Because when I presented you, that balanced budget holds because I used no revenue cap increase when I calculated that. And I calculated it as is. Basically, the 2021, 2022 school year budget, regardless of the mechanism of.
Any questions by the board for Mr. Hyatt? Seeing none, we'll move on to board monitoring, special population updates. Ms. Smith.
So evening.
Your mic isn't on.
Is this on? No. Apologies. For those in the audience that don't know who I am, my name is Laurie Schmidt, and I'm the Director of Student Services for the school district. We've talked about a special populations board report a couple of times in the past. Last year, this report was passed on just because the data was a little off with being closed for a portion of the school year. So what I did is I took 4 of our major populations that would be looked at through a number of different monitoring purposes through the state of Wisconsin each year. This report outlines special education, 504 plans, students that are English learners, as well as students that are experiencing homelessness. And I 5 of the different ways that we look at equity as well as compliance for these areas of student populations. I listed the OCR, or Office of Civil Rights, CRDC, audit that is done. I wrote 5-year cycle, my apologies, that changed about 3 years ago to a 2-year cycle, and they skipped last year due to COVID-19. But that report looks at equity across any span of where we could look at discrimination of students or disproportionality of students based on race, ethnicity, disability, socioeconomic status, etc. So all of those areas are looked at. Our pupil non-discrimination self-evaluation, there's a self-assessment done every 5 years, as well as an annual report that's done every year that takes into account all of our bullying and harassment reports that are made in the district. The third area is on procedural compliance of self-assessment. This is our special education, what we used to call our audit. Now they call it a self-assessment, a little bit softer language. We are in that cycle right now and starting that this summer, where we will be looking at our evaluation system, IEP plans, and looking at just general overall compliance for our students with disabilities. The ESSA report, that's Mr. Flayton and I monitor on an annual basis. Those are our Title I, Title II, Title III, and Title IV dollars that we get from federal funding grants throughout the state. We need to do a large amount of reporting, both through the DPI portal as well as with our business office, with Carol and with Carl, to get all of those claims submitted appropriately and demonstrate how we use those dollars for our students across the district. And finally, I shared the McKinney-Vento compliance review. McKinney-Vento Act is the act that oversees students experiencing homelessness. That audit is done every 5 years, and we completed ours satisfactorily with no corrective action needed in the past school year. So that, just kind of wanted to share a little bit about those reports that take place throughout our calendar. And what I did for the areas that we have data on is I shared a 5-year graph with you about what our numbers look like right now and what they look like over the past 5 years. The first chart is in terms of special education. We provide special education services for students with disabilities ages 3 through 21. That's not always a guarantee in that 21 aspect. We really look at what are those goals and IEP objectives that students still need to work on. We wrapped up our last IEP meetings today. Our teachers were still doing annual IEPs, just wrapping up that paperwork. We have just under 300 students in special education. That's about 14% of our district population. Our state average is right around 15% for the state of Wisconsin for students with disabilities. We have quite a robust special education department. Our certified teachers, speech language therapists, occupational physical therapists and assistants, our educational assistants, as well as our student services staff, our nurses, our psychs, our counselors, our social workers. We are just very blessed to have quite a phenomenal team. Also our regular education teachers and our interventionists are just as much a part of this, of our special education program as our special education staff is. Students with autism, emotional behavioral disabilities, deaf, hard of hearing, intellectual disabilities, orthopedic impairment, other health impairment, significant developmental delay, specific learning disability, and speech and language are all of the different areas in which a student can be eligible in the area of special education. I also have a paragraph in terms of the Waupaca County Alternative Program, or WCAP. A lot of questions generated after their open house in the past year about what that program is. They rent from us at the School Street location downtown. That is run by CISA 5, and they have other alternative programs in Vesper, Necedah, Rock Springs, and Portage. All of our CISAs throughout the state often have different alternative program options. Over 95% of students that are placed at WCAP are students with disabilities. We have 5 students currently at WCAP. Not all of our students are students with disabilities, but that cost of that placement is through the local school district. So we do have an annual contract that Waupaca has had with them since that building was rented to them a number of years ago. The next area I wrote about is 504 plans. I don't have a data chart for you on this yet, but we will be working on that. Maybe next year we'll have a few years of data. We're working with a new system to clean that up a little bit more. 504 plans are much more considered an accommodation plan. So it's access to education for students. A lot of times we have a student that may not qualify in an eligibility for special education, but have a major life event that requires accommodations for them to have access to the general education environment. We may look at a 504 plan. It is a Office of Civil Rights piece, so it's a federal level law, not a state level law that we abide by. And like a lot of other federal laws, they're quite wordy and filled with legalese. So I tried to break that down and just give you a little bit more information about what 504 plans are. And like I said, we have 16 students in our district with 504s. English language learners. This is a very small population for us. However, a lot of districts around us have seen growth in their English learner population. You'll see that we currently have 7 students, and that's a mix of only, I think, 2 languages currently. We do not have any specific programming for English language students because we do not meet the trigger markers set by the state DPI for a mandatory bilingual bicultural program. New ELs or new English learners that may be new to the country or having their first experience in public schools are screened to determine their English language proficiency. And every year we do an assessment called the Access, which is a state assessment to measure English language proficiency. Because our goal for our students is to have them be English proficient as they work through our public school district. Yes?
What are the triggers that you just said, out of curiosity? What would a trigger be for
So it's 10 to 20 students in any grade band that speak the same language. So from that K4 perspective, or it's really, I think it's K2 or K3 and then 4-8, but it's 10 to 20 students. So we're not quite there because that's 7 students across the district. You're welcome, great question. The final population you spoke about is homeless. I know very often when we think of homeless populations, I know as a kid, I thought of when parents moved to a big city on vacation and we saw people living in tents or on park benches. Under McKinney-Vento, homelessness is for any student that does not have a secure, regular, fixed nighttime residence. So our school district has some enrollment questions right in our online registration packet. And if a family checks those that talk about security in their home life situation, etc., if there are any red flags that pop up, our social workers make a direct call and a direct contact with that family to determine how we can assist them and to see if they meet the markers for eligibility for homeless. The counts vary tremendously. If you look at that 5-year breakdown, we have 68, I think, this year currently, and 3 years ago we had 90. There was a year in there with 38, so it really does vary. But students that are experiencing homelessness have a number of rights that are protected under the law. If they are living in Waupaca as homeless, maybe in a motel, in a campground, if they're doubled up with another family, they do have rights to go to the resident district. So if that's close, we work on a transportation agreement with that other district, or a parent. And we also do some transportation ourselves, either through Go Right Way or with one of our school vans. And to date, Greg Gordon, the great writer, and I run a webinar with DPI, and we'll be applying for a homeless-based grant that was just released to see if we can purchase another vehicle to assist with transportation for our students experiencing homelessness. Because a lot of times it just doesn't mean to and from school. It may need help on a driver's license. It may need help getting them to a mental health or a medical appointment. And those are the things that we're really blessed to have school social workers, school counselors, school nurses to assist us with. So that being said, sorry, if there are any other questions.
Laurie, I have a question. You mentioned that there are 68 students who are in the homeless category. Approximately how many families? I assume that there's multiple children in some of these.
Yes, and I did not count up families, but I would guess we would be between 40 and 50 families then.
Okay, and has the definition of homeless person, I mean, how you characterize or categorize that, has that changed over the years or has that remained sort of constant?
This has been very constant over the past 10 years. You know, I even look back like the 22 years I've been in education, it's probably been something we've talked about more so in the last 15, but this has been, this set of bullets right under that chart has really been pretty consistent of, you know, sharing with housing, living in hotels, living in a public or private place, migratory families, and unaccompanied youth has been very consistent.
Okay, thank you. My other question was, you mentioned that we have our English language learners. What two languages are we specifically dealing with?
Spanish and Chinese.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Laurie, how, other than a parent's application, how would we find out students that are experiencing homelessness?
Sometimes we'll have parents reach out, we'll have students reach out. Our student services team, and when I say that, I'm referring to that network of counselors, psychs, nurses, and school social workers have really developed some great relationships with students, or they've developed great relationships with their teacher, and they say something at school. So then we link them in and make a contact home and say, how can we help them? And some parents, yes, they're ready for that help and support, and some parents aren't, they're figuring that out on their own. So it's really that matter of meeting families where they're at.
Would you say, or would it be a fair statement that the percentage of our population of homelessness is greater than we think it is?
Yes, absolutely.
Thank you.
Other questions?
Sorry, I was just going to give an anecdote to that. 1 year, for instance, I had seniors primarily in high school. I had a young woman who I found out at the end of the year, her parents had moved for the whole year. I said, well, to a different city out of our district, quite a ways away. I said, well, where have you been staying? With friends. So she was with it the whole year. I don't think she was considered homeless because she didn't tell anybody, but in essence, it wasn't a very safe situation.
Yep. And that information is all confidential as well. So if a student is identified homeless, it's not something that's broadcast to every teacher that they have, but wanting to make sure they have the supports and know where to get them at school.
Other questions?
Thank you.
Thank you very much. We'll move on to curricular activity planning, and I believe Mr. Spicoli is going to help us all with that.
Yeah, thank you guys. On this form here, I listed some of the bigger things that we did this year from an activity standpoint, and really, just like any other aspect of school, this year was different than any other year, and so much of the school year was spent adjusting, figuring out protocols and working through those. And every single club, every single sport was impacted in one way or another, from things from protocols and restrictions or formats of events, things that were normally in person had to be virtual, differences in spectators, game rules even changed. And so there were many meetings, many communications to go over these changes that were, once you had a plan in place, a couple weeks later, it might be totally different. And this was all possible because the advisors, the coaches, the students, the families all did an amazing job continuing to work through these as we changed week to week, sometimes day to day. And it was just amazing to see. It wasn't complaining. It was, all right, let's find a way to make it work. And the people that were here were just awesome about that. So I want to say a big thank you as well to our secretaries, our nurses, buildings and grounds, BSG, our athletic trainers, for all the hard work that they did to make this possible, because at the start of the year, we didn't know if anything was going to be possible. So a lot of people did a ton of hard work to give these students the opportunity to participate in the activities they love, even though they had to look different this year than a normal year. So it was really awesome to get to see and be a part of that. Other things we did differently this year was we had a virtual parent meeting instead of in person at that time before the school year started. We didn't have any gatherings going on, and I also created a COVID video that actually worked really well and maybe could be something that we continue to use moving forward using the virtual parent meeting. Live streaming for high school sporting events, we have the NFHS programming using the pixel eye cameras in the gym and common field, and that actually led to some issues this year because that company exploded with business because every school was looking to add these cameras, and so when there'd be technical difficulties, they didn't have the support staff for the amount of growth that they experienced this year. So that was a challenge, but like we were able to figure out, like Art Schultz helped us set up some cameras at the middle school that we use for live streaming. So that might be something down the road we could look at changing and offering a different way of doing some live streaming, since it might be possible moving forward. That might work a little better. This year we implemented the new activities code of conduct that was created last year, and it went really well. This year we were hoping to do the wall of excellence and military service recognition, but because we didn't have our big gatherings, we want this to be a special event that when we do this for the first time, we can invite a lot of people to be a part of it. The nice thing is that now everything is almost entirely in place, except for we still needed to pick a location for this wall, but the Rotary donated $600 towards the startup cost to create the wall, and then we already this year were able to post a place where people can apply for the award or nominate somebody to receive those awards, where there's more information on our district website right now. So it is ready to go, and hopefully next year we'll be able to have a really great celebration of introducing a group of our Wall of Excellence. I continue to do head coaching evaluations at the end of each season, which has been going really great. And then goals for next year, as you know, I'm taking a position in the Stevens Point School District as a principal at an elementary near my home. So part of it is my goals will be helping to transition the new activities director, who will be starting in July. When he comes in, it takes some time to just build relationships, get to know people, but then hopefully as he gets comfortable, I'll share these things, these things I've listed with him that maybe he can continue on for us. And then I continue to schedule events and stuff for next year to hopefully make that transition easier for him. One of the things I listed was hopefully hold that first Wall of Excellence recognition event. We could use an update to our coach's handbook, evaluate the live streaming options for the future, and then monitor the new activities that were approved tonight, which was a tennis club for the high school and expanding trap and ski to our middle school students. So he'll be able to monitor those as well, and I can give him information on that. And then lastly, I just wanted to thank the board and administration for giving me the opportunity to work here the last couple of years. I really loved it. There are so many great people in this community and school, and I'm just very grateful for the opportunity to be here, and I'll just work with you guys. So thank you for having me.
Are there any questions?
Yeah, Joe, yeah, we can do that first if you want to. I just a couple questions. Your position has changed over the years because we always had an athletic director. Now you're an activities director. Could you, because I know you're moving on, but could you just give us a minute of your time? How has that really changed? I mean, have you been able to get in really close with activities as well as athletics? What are your comments on that?
Yeah, there's definitely more time is allocated for the sports because I am responsible for scheduling those and getting officials, event workers, and dealing with the day-to-day changes that come up. This year too, with the platform for activities, we didn't get to have our in-person, like I really enjoyed going to the musical last year, which this year I had to do that virtually. You know, so many of the advisors themselves take on their scheduling piece and ironing out those details. So much more of my time is spent on the athletics piece of it. But that was something too, like if I were to continue to be here, it's finding more ways to connect with those advisors and ways to support that for sure, definitely.
Thank you. Thank you for your service.
We very much thank you for everything you've done for our students, our district, and our community. And we are sad to see you go, but we wish you very well in your new endeavor.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you.
With that, we'll move on to board reports. I cannot see our student representative. You tell us she is online or the back of the room. Okay. Her report is available to you online. So we'll move forward then to upcoming meetings and events. June 9th, tomorrow, the end of the year celebration at 7:15 p.m. here at the high school.
AM.
I was hoping it was p.m. Thank you for that correction. We did have June 15th special board meeting scheduled for 5:15. However, I became aware of the conflict. So I would ask if the board would be willing to consider another date. And to do so, we would have Sandy send something out to look for a date that people are available. Is that acceptable?
Are you thinking of another date in the general vicinity of that time frame?
Well, hopefully.
Okay.
We also have a June 22nd meeting, 15, and then July 13th, it was requested that we move that to July 20th, but there's a conflict with that date. So we will look for another date on that as well. Please look for an email and we will see what we can do. If possible, we might need consideration of a Monday or Wednesday, but we'll see what we can do to accommodate everyone's schedule. Right. Okay, with that, we'll move on to the sale of the CISA 5 property in Bedford. Sorry, do you want to take that? Or?
This is an unusual item. It's not very often that a CISA will be selling a piece of their property, but CISA 5 is looking at selling a building in Vesper, Wisconsin that they own. It's in the Wisconsin Rapids district. They no longer use it. And according to state law, for them to be able to do that, I believe they need 2/3 of the school districts in our CISA to pass a resolution allowing them to do that. They have already, on June 3rd, at the CISA 5 Board of Control, have authorized this sale. So it is a 60 by 80 building that includes approximately 0.54 acres of land, and the estimated value of the property is $50,000. The resolution, if you so choose to approve, which administration does recommend, the board approve this, would be the school board of the school district of Waupaca at a duly noted meeting here on June 8th, 2021, votes to approve the sale of the property located at 6471 Cameron Avenue, Vesper, Wisconsin, 54494 by Cooperative Ed Service Agency 5.
Thank you. Is there a motion to approve the resolution for Wisconsin statute 116.055?
Make a motion, Doctor.
Motion to approve. Is there a second? Second. Motion and second. Any discussion? There being none, roll call.
Steve Hackett.
Aye.
Debbie Mann. Yes. Ted Fair.
Aye.
Steve Christmas.
Aye.
Dale Belt.
Yes.
Steve Johnson.
Yes. Thank you, everyone. And now, administration graduating senior celebration report.
Yes, I believe Mr. Rapolsky is going to go through his report.
Good evening, everyone.
If you go too long, we'll shut the power off.
I don't know how that happened.
Perfect time.
Thank you guys for coming to graduation. It was really nice. I appreciate it. The numbers you see up here is an annual report that we do. I want to point out just a couple of things. One, B, C, and D, where we had the college credits earned, dual credits, and the students completing their youth apprenticeship programs. Those were down just a little bit. I really do believe that had to do with the protocols that were in place both here and at other institutions that our students were going to. I'm seeing that students are enrolling in classes and anticipating those numbers rising for next year. I did want to point out that we did have one student complete the GMAW Welding Basics, which is a set of welding courses, and they will get that certification. That is the first student at the district to receive that. It's pretty cool. And the numbers for our local scholarship and for the seniors completing co-curricular activities, I believe had a little bit to do with the COVID and the protocols that we were
we're facing throughout the year. Any questions? Sure.
How was the welding class completed? Who authorized that? Who did the student work with?
Oh, Brian Krasinski, who is our welding teacher, he has a series of classes that the students had to go through. So it's not just one class, but they had 4 classes that they had to go through, and then the testing that went with it. So it's pretty cool.
Mike, could you just give us a little bit of a background? Correct me if I'm wrong, there were 137 graduates on Sunday. Was that the number?
Walk the stage is 126. We had 142 that will ultimately receive a diploma.
And can you just remind us, what that number seems low to be compared to the beginning of the school year. Am I incorrect in that assumption?
I don't know. I don't think it's much lower than it was that we started out.
It just seemed like a very low number.
Yeah, we have, the numbers that are coming in are not as high as what we've had in the past. So our numbers at the high school are dipping down just a little bit.
However, the 8th grade class last night was really good. I think it was 150 or something. And I was talking to one of the teachers afterward that said there's really a fluctuation in
grades.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And go ahead. Could I just ask those parents with the prom questions, if you wouldn't mind just waiting and talking to myself and Ms. Erb in the comments afterwards? I'm hopefully be able to help answer some of those questions. Thank you.
Thank you. With that, I'll entertain a motion for adjournment. So moved. Motion to adjourn, is there a second?
Second.
Motion and second, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Thank you, everyone.